Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 57 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Sunday, December 18th, 1 week before Christmas and a week and a few days before the start of the Effingham-Teutopolis Christmas Classic. And with that in mind, we're going to do a repeat of a show that we kind of did last year, getting some of the coaches that are going to be patrolling the sidelines at that tournament in a week and a half at Effingham High School and Teutopolis High School. So we thank these gentlemen for joining us. Mike, like we were just saying before we started recording, this tournament's your baby, so I'm going to let you handle the introductions and kind of do the steering as far as the conversation. But thanks to everybody for joining in tonight.
Well, good. Thank you, Dustin. Yes, we have three guys who I've got to know over the years. We have a lot of fun with them. They've done a really good job in our tournament, and they were kind enough to join us this evening. First off, we have Rich Kolimas from Lake and Way East, Jason Rhodes from Oak Lawn, and Kyle Weber from Pleasant Plains. And I think between you guys, 4 losses this year. Is that correct? Rich, you're what, 8-1?
Yeah, we're at 9-1 right now. With we got one more game before the tournament. We're playing Bremen Tuesday night.
And Kyle, where do you guys sit right now? 6-1, 5-1?
5-1, and then we've got 2 games this week before we come down there next week.
Who you got this week?
Beardstown Tuesday, and then our first conference game Thursday against Auburn.
You're not going to play Auburn. You're going to get snowed at. You can just tell your administration that Wilson said no game Thursday night. All right,
I hear you.
Jason, you guys are 7-2, 6-2.
7-3. So we're
7-3.
responsible for 3 of those losses. Yeah.
Okay, and who you guys got this one?
We actually are off this week, which is great.
Oh, you guys are off this week.
Yeah, we're just going to practice, get ready for the tournament. So we need it.
Well, that's good. I know we were talking beforehand, so we're going to see, here in about 10 days what you're made out of. Then I guess because
That's right.
And I'm a little disappointed. I didn't get a call this summer to come up and do that defensive clinic we talked about. Every day I check my text to see if I got a text from Jason Rhodes.
Well, see, we should have done it. Maybe
See,
maybe we would be as good as Lincoln Way East had we done that.
Well, yeah, I just keep counting the days to come up with. And one thing I will say, we do not publish our seeds ever in our brackets, but I will say that you guys all are seated in the top 4. I'll just say that much. And then, the 4 people that watch our podcast will know that. And then, no one will harass me. Let's see. Jason, you've been at our tournament the longest, I believe, of the 3 of you. I'm going to let you start then and just give us a little capsule of your squad this year.
Well, I think this will be our 8th year at the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. We have 5 seniors on our team, and 3 of those guys start. Actually, I don't know who's starting, to be honest with you anymore. We'll see what we come out there with the first game, but. And then a crew of juniors, and we actually have some youth on our team. We have a freshman and a sophomore who are kind of in the rotation. So it's definitely a different mix than last year where we were pretty senior heavy. So still kind of building some chemistry, I think. We are pretty fast. We like to play pretty fast, but we're also still developing our defensive identity, I would say. So. Work in progress. Trying to get better every day. We started out hot. We beat a highly regarded Mount Carmel team in our Thanksgiving tournament. Played a great second half in that game. But then I think our heads got a little too big, so didn't play the way that we needed to following that win. So back to reality now. Our feet are on the ground, and hopefully we have our heads on straight, and we have a good showing at the tournament.
So they got a little susceptible to how everybody was saying how good they were on social media, maybe?
I would say that's a pretty safe bet. Yeah.
Now, and I am going to single one of your kids out because I've seen a lot of stuff from him. Mr. Suleiman, pretty nice player you bring down. He's a transfer student you got.
Yeah, Xavier Suleiman transferred in from Marist High School. He's just a electric open floor athlete. Yeah, brings a lot of excitement, and he's a playmaker, definitely a difference maker for us.
Well, and the stuff I've seen, very athletic, I think is a key word. I've seen him. There's been, a couple of things he's done, a little Wilson-esque, remind me back of my day. Playing on an 8-foot rim in our, down the neighbor's house, we could rock it back then. Now, I have to tell you a story. A buddy of mine lived next door to Coach Jim Maxton, who was Effingham's coach back in the day. And then we would play in this kid's driveway out till 11 o'clock at night all the time. We were just rats playing. We were seniors in high school, and a lot of times Uwe would play with us. And he had to watch from hitting his head on the rim because the rim was only 8 foot. So Uwe wasn't there this night, but little did we know, sitting on Maxton's porch was Bobby Knight. Because Knight had been there for recruiting visit with Uwe, and he's sitting on the porch. They're watching us play, for an hour. And Knight had told, because Coach Maxton told us the next day at school, he said, Bobby said he thought you guys were in the NBA for a little bit. We said, really? And he said, yeah, no basketball ability is what he said. So our game got critiqued by Coach Knight one night, and he wasn't very interested in getting us to tag along with the big boy to go to Indiana. But, so we at least had an audition. We just failed.
That's great.
So, all right, Mr. Rich, tell us about Lincoln Way.
Well, last year we took our lumps, lost a lot of tight ball games, turned the ball over a lot. So this year we've got a senior dominated team. Net experience is starting to pay off. A pretty versatile group, I would say. We've got a couple of 6'6" kids, and Mac Hegmeister, our junior, is 6'8". So we've got some height. We can play big, or we can go small. We've got some guards, Ty Tolliver and Caden Ross, a couple of seniors who have been through it, and then Brendan Sanders, a sophomore for us, is really added a new dimension for us. So then, good blend of athleticism. I'd say we were probably ahead defensively than we are offensively. We're still trying to put it together on the offensive end. But it's a good group. It's a hungry group. We're working hard, and it's been good so far.
I know. Like I said, I get scores on all you guys' games. I got a spreadsheet, so when we actually do the seeding, we have a little bit of a general idea of what we're doing. And yeah, you've had some big wins. Oswego East caught a lot of ink up there preseason, and you guys knocked them off, and that's good.
Yeah, that was a big win for us in terms of where we're going to get seeded in our sectional, because they're considered a top 4 seed in our sectional. So that came after a Lincoln Way Central game, and that was the same last year. And we got beat last year against Lincoln Way Central, and just played maybe one of the worst games I've ever coached against Oswego East last year. It was just a horrific game. And so I don't know if they were taking us a little lightly this year, but we did not circle the Lincoln Way Central game as we normally would. We circled that Oswego East game, and we said, we're going to get the Central game. We got to get Oswego East this year.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and that was a big win for us, and that kind of propelled us and gave us some some confidence.
And then I saw you got the sweep to beat West this week, didn't you?
Yeah, we beat Lincoln Way West this weekend, and really nice turnout for that game. Normally the in-district games are well attended, and so we're getting there. We played a lot of ball games. I don't know, it seems like 10. We're gonna play 11 ball games before we head down to Effingham. That just seems like a lot for us. I don't remember us playing that many ball games in December.
Well, it'll get you ready for down here. You guys know the drill down here. It's 4 games in 3 days, and usually pretty good crowds watching. I know you both coached, in front of a hostile crowd at D-Town, and sometimes it can be a good experience for your kids to have people that close yelling at them. I see you guys have those big arenas.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that big, but I remember one game in particular against Teutopolis, and it was that second game of the second day, and it was just a phenomenal game. And I've always respected how hard Teutopolis plays. I mean, first of all, they get out in a break and it's 1-2 and up into the basket. Their break is incredible. And then the kids are, I try to explain to my team that these kids are country strong, and they don't know what I mean by that.
Well, they know your football kids, the weight room, and I will say this.
Yeah.
Coach Reeder, T-Town's weight program is incredible what they do now. I mean, it really is. They're not as I think the country strong started after Weber graduated. But I have to ask Coach Crawford about that. Yeah. So we'll segue, Kyle, into Pleasant Plains. You guys are I think this is your 4th year.
Yeah.
Because I know your first years you had really, really good team. And that may have been the first year we had 16 teams.
Yeah, the first couple years there before COVID, we came down. I think Lincoln Way East got us, I think our first, maybe T-Town got us the first year down there in the semifinal. And then I feel like we played Lincoln Way East 2 of the 3 years down there.
So how are you guys doing this year?
We're doing okay. We got a lot of seniors back this year. Last year, we came down there with all juniors and a freshman starter. Lost a couple kids to some football injuries. Had a 6'4" lefty, Nick Sabo, who broke his leg week 5 of football. So he's out. He was our leading 3-point shooter last year. And then Michael Carter, one of our reserve juniors, tore an ACL in football. So trying to figure out without those 2 guys, that's still trying to figure out the bench a little bit. We got a couple freshmen though who came in, played some key minutes for us, and just kind of getting some of those guys in the mix with some of our experienced guys back.
Well, you guys, I remember a couple of years ago, you had one of your studs. We don't think he's going to play. And then you get down here and he gets his first game in. And then, we're like going, wait a minute, we would have seated him here if we'd known this kid was playing, for God's sake. So, I keep waiting on these injured kids to show up and be ready to go now, the way, we've done that for you in the past.
I wish these 2 are coming back, but I don't, we're holding out hope for Nick Sabo, the senior. Maybe he's back in February, but just a bad luck for him. And he's hoping, he's got a meeting with the doctor January 3rd, where he's hoping he can get back to a regular shoe and lose the boot. So maybe that's one step closer for him coming back.
And then you guys, I believe it was the Powell kid, made all tournament last year and really played well.
Yeah, and he's had a really good start to the season. Freak athlete. He was the 400 state champion last year. He's one of those kids, 6'6" senior, who he plays up above the rim. Scoring about 20 points a game this year so far. Just has an uncanny soft touch around the rim and unique athleticism for us.
And when people have asked me about our tournament this year, one of the things I've stressed, it may be our strongest tournament for individual players. we've got some really good teams, but I don't know, there's been years where we've had 11 really good teams. And I don't know that, the year I know when Kyle, you guys were really good, A&M was really good, Central A&M was here, but I don't know if team-wise we got the depth. But I'll tell you what, individual-wise, I was looking at last year's all-tournament team, and I think at least 9 of those kids are back, on top of other kids who were very deserving and getting on there. So I think as far as individual players, this may be the best group of kids we've had in the tournament this year. I really think it could be. But we'll just kind of have to see. Rich, you guys play. We got the morning game. I don't know who did that schedule, or not the morning, but you get the 3 o'clock game. Well, you and Jason both got a 3 o'clock.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, well, you guys, I know you like to get up early and get on the bus. So, so you got Matt Toon, Rich, 3 o'clock. Have you guys watched any video or anything like that on there?
Have not looked at anything in Mattoon yet. Still, we've got a game Tuesday, so still preparing for that. And then right after that game, we'll start taking a look.
I'd ask your superintendent to put some. He doesn't do anything else during the day. Tell him I said that.
I will, Mike.
He's, I had to put up with him as a player, so he probably still owes me. I'll just tell you.
I'll let him know.
Let him know that. Jason, you guys, Belvedere, you guys start with?
Yeah, Belvedere was just digging into a little bit of film before hopping on here. So
yeah, because I know they've got I know you said they got a big kid. I've seen their roster. I hadn't seen any individual scoring from them at all, but yeah, I saw they had a big kid. And Kyle, you guys start with
Knoxville. Yep,
okay.
That's right, Knoxville.
I kept thinking you started with them last year, but you didn't. Matt Toon did, because we found out it was maybe tomorrow last year, that St. Thomas More wasn't going to be able to play, or it was this week. So I haven't answered my phone the last few days. If it's a number I don't know, I'm assuming it's a telemarketer. I don't even.
Yeah, we got to start with Rich's team last year. I remember that well.
Yeah, well, you played them tough.
Yeah,
it was a really good game. It was a really good game.
I remember that game. All right, and Rich, you and Kyle are both over at Effingham this year, so unfortunately, you get the second best hospitality room in the tournament. Sorry about that, but
yeah, we're gonna miss it. We may have to travel over there.
That's all right.
In the day.
That's the first thing what my assistant coach, Coach Upchurch, said. He said, "What? We're going to Effingham? That T-Town's a way better hospitality room." We were really disappointed about that.
It's the camaraderie we have up there. We have. I joke about it. We got 3,000 point scorers from T-Town on the committee over there, and trust me, they all three like to shoot the ball. There was, and they also, they like to talk a little bit up there. So it's a good group. Now, Jason, and you're back at T-Town this year because you've been at Effingham. Well, it seemed like early you were in the T-Town rotation a couple years in a row, and then you got out, and so it works out pretty good.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
And they've redone a lot of things in the gym. They can now control the heat, so it's not 190 degrees. So that's
I thought
plus.
that was a competitive advantage that was built in. I mean, yeah.
Hey, I coached there one night. They were ranked second in the state, undefeated, and I thought I would be. For some reason, I thought wearing a sweater vest was a good idea. And when I got home, I wrung it out in the sink.
So we had a game like that. The year we brought a team down and played Effingham St. Anthony. First round game, and it was the hottest game I think I've ever coached in.
Well, that was before they had everything redone. So yeah, it could have been. But it was sold out the night I beat Kenny, and it was his last year. And I hang my hat on that one. That was a big win. But that gym could get hot. I'm here to tell you. It could get hot.
I'm sure I was at that game, and I probably wrote the story, but I don't remember saying anything about your sweater vest. If that makes you feel any better.
Well, I wore
should have been the lead.
I wore it in the sectional championship later that year against them, and at the buzzer it let me down. So it must not have been the sweater. Rich, why do you guys keep coming back?
Well, you use the word hospitality, and we feel welcome. You mentioned our superintendent, Dr. Tingley. He's the one that first suggested it. And so I said, yeah, let's go down there and try it out. There's some great tournaments up in the Chicagoland area, but it's an opportunity for us to do some bonding, to get away, spend some time. And I tell you what, our kids absolutely love it. And no matter what kind of season we're having, we're playing well, we're not playing well, whatever, at the end of the season, a lot of the good memories come out of this Christmas tournament. So it's been really, really good. And, we enjoy the competition, and it's different. It's different competition, and there's really good coaching going on that I appreciate. And I always pick up one or two things from games that we're scouting or watching, or from the other coaches. Guys are doing a great job with whatever talent they have. They're doing a great job. And so it's good from that standpoint as well.
Well, Jason, before I ask you this question, I remember having a conversation with you when you said you came down and you said, we got to get better. We got to see different people and get out of the same tournament we go to every year. That's why we want to come. Well, that's why you came, but you keep coming back.
Yeah, well, we used to be in Lincoln Way East's Christmas tournament, and for some reason now we have to see them sometimes again down there. So I don't know how that happened, but
so you just went from a bad tournament. That's what you're doing. I understand.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tell people all the time, as long as I'm coaching at Oak Lawn, and as long as you guys will have us, we will continue to come and participate, just because of all the things that Rich said. So true. It's a great experience for our kids, and the tournament is so well run and so well organized. Just being able to pick up box scores of the games previous, after our games, and kind of being able to do a little bit of scouting that way, just scouting the box score or whatever. And obviously the hospitality room's already been mentioned. That's tremendous. And like Rich said, the experience of getting away from this area, for our kids is a unique one. And I think is attractive to, the guys that want to play basketball at our school. It's just a fun thing. It's always a highlight of our season for sure.
Now, Jason, was it you guys one night out? You guys ate at Joe's, I think, one night.
We've been to Joe's.
And then you guys were across the street taking pictures on the square of the courthouse and the Christmas ornaments and stuff.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Make those memories, and the alumni still come back and talk about that tournament, and they'll be following online, I'm sure.
We may be, I think we're going to be able to stream everything in FHS this year. And I know, you mentioned the box scores. One of my daughters runs the social media, and then the other one runs all the stats at the Effingham gym. And they will, we get a lot of follows on Twitter. And, we have fun with your kids. Rich, your kids are down here, and the greatest thing we have fun with is when they come and eat after a game on the T-Town side. Because you had those two big juniors last year.
Yeah.
Bellevue and
Kyle Olabegi. Kyle and George, yeah. They can eat.
They didn't know what a pork burger was. No. They weren't sure they wanted one. And one of the guys on our committee, Jeff Hardick, who likes to talk, and he's like a dog sometimes, just a little chihuahua. And before you were done, they both had their bag stuffing leftover pork burgers in their bag to go back and eat. I mean, it was crazy. And that's the thing. Our committee, these guys, I mean, nobody on my committee's met a stranger. And they're talking to kids at the games. And, I still remember, Jason, the last time you guys played in T-Town, I think Sammy Osmani was playing for you. And they were out there early or between games, and he tried to dunk and missed it. I walked up to him and of course, he doesn't know who I am from Adam. And I said, I thought you were better than that. Hell, you can't jump over a phone book. And he looked at me, and then I just started laughing. And he goes, I'll get one. And I said, all right. So that's good. We have fun. Now, Kyle, other than coming back and seeing your parents, why you come back?
No, that's what for me, it was fun to go down there. I wondered once how our players and our assistant coaches would like it, but I tell you what, they really enjoy it. Kind of like these guys all had mentioned, from just the bonding part, being at the hotel room, to playing the different teams. I think it's one thing that our guys really, really look forward to. And the competition too is really good, especially if you win that first game. And you're not going to get an easy game. You're not going to get an easy game.
Well, when we originally started the tournament, our goal obviously was to get to 16 teams, but to win the tournament, you better pack a lunch. That was kind of what we want. Yeah, you may have an easy game. And for teams that aren't very strong, I say you'll play 2 games at whatever level your team's at. You're going to get should have 2 very competitive games at least. And, I remember first year you guys were here, you guys went to the Super that year. And I think you guys got on a roll right after Christmas too.
Yeah, I think we went 1-3 down there that year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think maybe we beat like Chicago Brooks maybe in the first game at the buzzer. And then I think Lincoln Way East got us in the semifinal. And then maybe Central A&M beat us, who had a really good team there in that last game at T-Town. Yeah. And then I think Mattoon maybe beat us in overtime in the next game. And then, but yeah, after that, we kind of got on a roll. And what I like from our perspective is if we go there, by the time we play the 4 games we play, the rest of the year, we played a team that is as talented or better than any other team left on our schedule.
Yeah, you're not going to see anything else the rest of the year. You're going to see when you're down here.
Yeah, I think the one year that Rich's team beat us, I feel like, Rich, you guys had a kid maybe who was going to be a Northwestern football player or something. I think he dunked on us once, and it was, all right, boys.
Yeah, Sean McLaughlin.
Yeah, we don't see that a lot in the Sangamo Conference.
Well, and your kids, I know, got interviewed on Springfield, because I'll follow them on Twitter, and one of your post game may have been after you won the regional. Whoever was doing it for the Springfield radio, and they asked one of your kids, "Hey, what turned your season around?" And he said, "And it was great." He just looked in the camera and says, "When we went down to Effingham-Teutopolis for Christmas," he goes, "that turned us around." He goes, we got beat on down there, and then we started playing.
Yeah, for us, it's a totally different level of competition, and just too, I know they all mentioned it, but the camaraderie is a unique thing. You play a lot of games in a really quick turnaround time period, and you see a lot of unique teams, a lot of unique styles that you don't always see.
Now, one thing, and I wish we had video of it, because your son impressed us so much last year, Kyle. We gave him a shirt. He is into a game, and what is he now? 5th grade, 4th grade?
4th grader this year.
4th grader this year. As a 3rd grader last year, he was into a game more than maybe I ever even was as a coach. I mean, he's dying on every play, and he's going nuts. And he has so much energy. I finally just said, "Hey, we got an extra shirt. Let's take it down, David." He was like, "You thought I'd given him a lottery ticket, man." He was so fired up when I gave him that.
Oh, yeah. He wears that one with pride for sure.
Well, we got another one coming this year for him. We pre-ordered so we wouldn't get caught this year. So I'm excited. But that's part of the fun. I mean, I remember the first year George Montgomery's kids were here, and George's sons were like, they were probably junior high age, and they were 2 big boys, and they just sat by my daughter the whole time in the hospitality room. And they just thought Morgan was great. And the best part was there was food 3 steps away all day. And George finally said, he asked Morgan if he needed to pay her for babysitting. He goes, "My God, you can watch these kids the whole tournament."
Well, how about this too? Mike, I have an assistant coach, Rashad Johnson, who played in the tournament, right? And is maybe the only player ever to have been ejected from a game at the tournament.
The only kid I ever walked to a locker room.
That's right.
Well, last year we had we were going to try to have a coaches mixer, and you guys showed up, and we told that story. I looked at him, I said, "You remember when I walked you to that locker room?" And he kind of hung his head. Yeah, I said, "All right, I'll get you another drink." So, but and that's the thing. It wasn't he got teed out, and I don't remember what he did. Jason. I don't remember, but I just know.
I don't either. He did a lot of things
embarrassed.
during his
He was
career.
embarrassed.
I can't remember.
Yeah, he was
Yeah, no, I know.
embarrassed. He was embarrassed, and I knew his mom and dad, and kind of met me outside the locker room, and they were very apologetic. And I said, "Hey, he just got caught up in the moment. Don't worry about it. We'll let him come back later when he's a coach, and we'll let him back in the building." So
Well, for everything he put me through as a coach, he's paying me back about tenfold right now. So
well, that's good. Nice young man. We probably will have an unofficial mixer again this year. I don't know if we'll have an official because we got all this nice food, Rich, and then Oklahoma took back like bags full of food to their hotel. I don't know.
Yeah, let's do that again.
Yeah. They had pizzas and all kinds of stuff. They had a lot of they had ravioli, they had everything. They took it back. So that was good. But that's the things we like about the tournament, getting to know, the coaches from other schools and talking to guys and stuff. And, like I said, that's the fun part of it. We laugh at ourselves as a committee. We had to buy Chicago Al-Raby new uniforms one year. One of our former committee members, there was red ink on one of the shirts that went in the laundry, and pink splotches all over the Al-Raby shirts when they came out. And their coach is like, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, we're going to buy you new shirts. I mean, we'll buy you new uniforms. That's on us." But yeah, Kyle. So we don't let Rich Prupst. He's not on the committee anymore because he ruined
that gets you booted off, huh?
That gets you booted off the committee. You ruin uniforms, and then it happened again. Boy, may have been Brooks and somebody else's came. Oh, they melted. I said, "George, where'd you get these?" I said, "We've never had numbers melt in the dryer." So, but luckily, some of our wives now take care of the laundry side of things, and we have no issues anymore.
Smart.
That gets Rich off the hook then.
Well, yeah. Now, Kyle, one member of this committee this summer suggested we have a coaches versus committee 3-point contest.
Well,
but then I
got to get some practice in, and
well,
then we can do that.
I said we got T-Town's all-time leading scorer on the committee, and he never went inside the 3-point line in his life, I don't think. And Mr. Custer. So, and Zaruzin, he played Iowa girls basketball. He didn't even play defense when he played. He just stood on the white line and shot threes. So
I tell you, the kids and the parents really like it T-Town when Chris does the starting lineup.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll probably miss that this year. I think last year we had Evan bring down the Hauser. It's always entertaining for sure.
They won't let him do it at Effingham. And Rich, your kids were sitting in the bleachers one year, and it was St. Anthony was playing, maybe you guys, Kyle. And St. Anthony's 6'7" kid, Jacob Dust, was a junior. And Zaruzin introduced him in the post, a 7 foot, and your kids are like, "That guy's not 7 foot," because I was standing down there by the door. And Chris gets into it. Now, the guy who normally introduces T-Town, Rich Nieberg, he's always on vacation. His son's a good player. He's a junior. So Rich he'll do the introductions on the T-Town games, but Chris will do them. And Jason, you're in for a treat because he, if the crowd is quiet, like your first game, if there's nobody in the gym, he'll get everybody stirred up right away. And he gets into it, and he likes to have a little fun sometimes. He'll poke at somebody. Usually he has to make sure he can poke at them before he does it, but it's pretty good. So yeah.
I tell you what, I was watching a film of T-Town and Tolono because we just played Tolono, and I didn't know who Rich's son was. And in fact, I text Kent Nieberge, who's 22 for T-Town, and he said who it was. He said that's Rich's kid. I think I texted him back. I go, man, if I was doing a draft, I think I'd take the son over Rich.
Yeah. Did you play with Rich?
Rich was a senior when I was a sophomore.
Okay. Because
His son had a heck of a. I mean, I don't know a lot about him, but he had a heck of a game against Tolono Unity on that.
He's
film
got
that I
some
watched.
skills. He's got some skills, and they start 3 Nieberges and have 1 more on the bench. So, and they're not.
Shocking.
None of them are first cousins. They're not. Actually,
Wow.
the 2 Nieberge and Seamer are first cousins. Yeah, they've tried to explain this who they're all. They're almost all related. They really are. In some way, shape, or form, they're not more than a couple generations off this group. So.
Well, I got a question here, and maybe it's a stupid one, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just because I haven't talked in a while. Need to hear the sound of my own voice. You guys talk about seeing other teams, other styles of play at a tournament, you know, traveling a little ways to see some people from another part of the state. But I think officiating is probably different in different parts of the state too, and that can be an interesting thing to expose your kids to a little bit, because if you want to make a deep run in the postseason, you may go outside your region a little bit eventually and run into someone who calls the game a little differently. So it's probably good not to be exposed to that for the first time. Is there any merit to that, or is that something I'm kind of pulling out of thin air?
No, I think so, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't know anything about a deep postseason run, but I think the officiating actually is great at the tournament. I think it's in some ways, and hopefully nobody listens to this around here, but in some ways it's better than a lot of the officiating we get in our league for sure. I like the way that the games are called down there, to be honest.
You guys think, Rich, you and Jason, you think it's called more physical or less physical?
I think it's a little tighter than
Okay.
than the games called up here. Mm-hmm.
See, and when I was on the bench, especially at T-Town, when we made our runs, never could get past the super, so many runs. But we always felt like when we went south for a super down at Carbondale, it was called tighter when we got down there. We always seemed to be getting in more foul trouble in the super than we did any other time. Kyle, you kind of see some of these guys because we get a few guys from your area, from the Springfield area, come down to games. So it's pretty much the same thing you see night in, night out, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But there's still something different when you walk into a gym and you don't know any of the officials.
Yeah.
Like a lot of our conference games or games up here, usually there's at least a familiar face or someone you've and the kids, I think too, you know, that you just know. Now for us going down there, this being our 4th year, you know, you kind of get to know some of them. And from just because I'm from that area, I mean, maybe I went to school with one of them or recognize them. Heck, some of them probably ref me when I played. So that part of it is a little bit familiarity with me. But for the kids, it's different. I don't know if I would say it's called any different from our area than it is down there, though.
And that's one of the things official wise. I know we have Carl Repke, who's an official, getting pretty close to being retiring, to be honest. He's done a couple state tournaments, but they handle everything on the committee. You know, all we do for officials is write checks. Carl, and then another one of our committee members, Steve Boswell, who's an official, they schedule everything. And I'm assuming you're having the same problem up there. It's getting harder and harder. You're seeing some schools down here play on Thursday night instead of Friday night because they have an easier time getting officials.
Yeah, that's happening here for sure. Our school actually we're putting a class in place next year for officiating, like a PE course, and so our school will help pay for any kids who want to get their officiating license.
I know 2 kids who played in the tournament last year. A kid from Kyle Stewart from St. Anthony and Dylan Prummer from T-Town, both have their license. So they're brand new and they're doing JV games already. just
Mhm.
because they're not there. And I saw, remember the other night I asked him at the T-Town game, and he goes, oh, I'm loving it. I go, awesome. It's so good to see those young people. I know Brett Meddy, who played one of the first couple of years of the tournament here, officiates. He likes the junior high or the JV fresh soft levels. He hasn't, I don't know if he's done any Brett, as soon as you want to do a varsity game, we'll let you do it at the tournament, man. I'm pretty happy doing the level I'm doing, but it's just getting those people to do it.
Mhm.
Parting words of wisdom, Mr. Rhodes, since you're the senior member.
Looking forward to it as always.
Ah.
Excited to be back at T-Town this year, just changing it up. Love the gym over there, love the feel of the games. So yeah, we're excited. Can't wait.
Okay. Rich?
Yeah, likewise. Our kids are really excited when we hand out the brackets and say, here's the plan, and we don't predict anything in terms of how we're going to do down there. We just, whoever we're going to face, we're going to take seriously, and we're going to try to play hard and try to improve. And the officiating, the only thing we say about officiating is that we hope the guys aren't working 3 games in a day.
And
Because sometimes at Christmas time you see that they're in various tournaments and they're just trying to make some money.
right.
And so I understand that part of it. It's just we don't want the guy at 7:30 who's worked 2 games already and maybe he's not going to blow his whistle as much. But that's everywhere. That's not that's at every tournament.
The thing we'll run into down here is guys will do a game at Vandalia, or they'll come up from Pinckneyville where they've done a game, or it happens. And like I said, and we've got guys who'll do 2 games for us in a day, just so we feel like we're getting a decent quality of guys in there. So Kyle, any parting?
Yeah, no, we're really looking forward to coming down. We're looking forward not to have to play Rich's team in the first or second round anyway.
Well, and it's Rich, you and Jason both get the early game, the 3 o'clock game, and part of me says, but then when we start, we always want T-Town and Effingham playing the last game in their building, so. That's why people will try to read our brackets and tell us who the cities are. And they're legit on how you're paired up. Just sometimes we have to massage the shape of the bracket. So, but we're expecting big things from all of you guys down here this year. And Jason, tell your kids that pork burgers will be hot and ready, and it may be first experience for some of them.
Yep.
And your kids, I don't think any of your kids have played at T-Town, have they?
No, they haven't.
Because we had COVID, so this is
right. Yeah,
well,
Rashad's the only one. Rashad's the only one that's played in that gym. So.
Well, I mean a full game, not part of it, not 28 minutes. Tell him I may just walk into the locker and just for old time's sake after the game, just and that'll be good. But I hope you guys will make it down, and I'm sure something will be done unofficially after that doubleheader night again, like we did last year. We'll try to figure something out. Trust me, the committee's not going to be opposed to it at all. I don't know if we'll feed the whole Oaklawn team and traveling party with all the leftovers. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your help. Committees work pretty good. We feel like we're going to have a really good product. We're excited. You guys have got to talk to people on the committee over the years. You know how geeked up they all get about it. So we're really looking forward to it, and can't wait. Can't wait at all. We want this blizzard to get out of here so we can all get back to playing basketball after Christmas.
Absolutely.
It'll be fun.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I'll let you bail out. And,
thanks, Mike.
we'll see you in about 10 days.
10 days. Yep.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Thanks. See you guys.
See ya.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks to all these gentlemen for taking the time to talk to us. And yeah, Mike, you and I have little other business to cover.
We got a full slate of things to touch on, Dustin.
Yeah, quite a few games. It was already kind of a light schedule coming up this week, as a lot of teams, they'll
Right.
play maybe one game,
It's going to get lighter. It's going to get lighter.
Yeah, because you're right. There's weather blowing in.
Yeah, people that play or were scheduled to play Friday night, I'm going to wager right now will not play. And people who are scheduled to play Thursday night, I may wager they don't play either.
Yeah, I think people are going to get a little squeamish about the Thursday games too, just because of how the evening might progress. Now, I don't know. Weather forecasts can, they can get pushed back or pushed forward by a day or so, depending on what goes on. But it'd be
I go for more podcasts here. My weather guy I follow online had an 8 o'clock update, so I'm going to jump on here and watch that at 8 o'clock to see what's changed.
Yeah, we'll see. But as far as the past week, I mean, I don't know what you thought we might start with, but man, the T-Town boys went up to that shootout and played East Peoria and got a nice win. Beat East Peoria 56-48. And they played Effingham this week, beat Effingham pretty soundly, 66-38. But that's a real, for the T-Town boys, we've kind of been wanting to see what they were going to do against just some real top flight competition. And not that they haven't played some good teams already this year, because they have. They went on the road and beat Bloomington Central Catholic last week. But this one here just kind of tells you, I think, that this is a for real team, that's going to.
Well, it's a couple-hour drive. You get up there, Peoria, as well as Eureka. I know that's where Chet played ball. He likes playing there. And whoever they played last year, I don't think they played too well up there and got beat. So, big win for them. We mentioned Joey Nieberg earlier. Joey was, they give out an MVP award every game. Joey was the MVP of the game. I saw on Twitter. So, good for him, good for them. And, the Hart game, to be honest, at the start of the game, I didn't feel like either team was playing well. I felt like it was, okay, we're overly hyped. I felt like T-Town made some rather lazy passes. And I felt like Effingham kind of was rushing things offensively and taking some bad shots early. But like I said, neither team. And then T-Town, because I was talking to a couple of guys there, and I said, here's the deal, fellas. I said, if T-Town will get a couple back-to-back stops, I feel like they're about to do something offensively, which they did. And they went on like a 12-0 run, I think, at one point or something. They took it from 7 or 8 or up to 15-16 in a flash.
Yeah, it was, by the way, just to put a bow on the one thing, it was Peoria Christian that T-Town played up at that shootout last year, lost by 5 points. Yeah, I don't know how much more interesting analysis I can pull out of the Effingham T-Town game. It was that was Tuesday night, and yeah, I mean, Brennan Nieberge scored 16. T-Town had 3 guys in double figures and a couple other guys close. They just this is what can and will be scary about them, is that they've got. And you just talk about Joey Nieberge. He scored 2 points in that game, So
and
they've just got a bunch of different guys who can beat you on any given night. That's the problem with trying to deal with a T-Town team.
At the Eureka shootout, Gaddis and Nieberge were the top 2 scorers. And I mean, that's the thing. Once that team, I think, understands their roles completely and starts playing with confidence, stays healthy, could be pretty good.
Yeah,
really good team by the end of the season.
You mentioned Garrett Gaddis, and one thing I will say about Garrett is, like, he averages just touch over 7 points a game. Okay. And you look at that and you think, well, that's nice. But the thing about it is that he's pretty consistent night in and night out of giving you those points, right? That's not like
He's not getting 10 and 3. He's not
right.
getting 10 and 3, 10 and 4 to average 7. He's right there.
And it's really nice to have a kid like that you just know you're going to get it from, right? That can be counted on to get you a few buckets here and there. I mean, listen, like the Caleb Seamers of the world are going to get their points every night too, but it's nice to have some role players that you can count on for a little bit of offense too.
Well, and it's kind of funny. I ran into Gaddis's mom and dad actually getting groceries Friday before I headed off to Nashville for the weekend, getting some things for that trip. And I just told him I like the way he plays. He plays, when I say he plays with an attitude, it's not look at me, but he'll do something defensively and he'll just kind of glance at the guy and like, yeah, don't be surprised. I just did that to you. He plays so hard, and I really like what he does on the floor. I see him, if they're doing layup line in the game and he's standing off the side, and I'll just say, hey, Gaddis, so look at me, I'm gonna shoot. Because he's got a little lefty, he got a nice jump shot. He really does.
And obviously Brendan Nieberge is a good shooter too. But the thing that I've also noticed is that James Nieberge, after maybe a bit of a slow start to the season, scoring wise, he had one big game in the Thanksgiving tournament, but other than that was a little quiet. I don't know what he did Saturday against. I don't know what he did Saturday in their last game, but he had 4 straight double-figure games, and he can go to the rim. So you got Brendan Nieberge, who's a good shooter. Jimmer can go to the rim. Seamer's just a big body guy that he could 18 feet in. He's pretty solid too. And
shoot the three. He'll shoot that top of the key three. He can shoot it.
He'll take it, yeah, for sure. So there's just a lot of different things to deal with. So
and that's the thing. They're parts. They're not like, oh, they got 5 kids who shoot the 3 and that's all they do. They do a lot of different things, and I like what they're. We thought they would become, but they're starting to become that. And this tournament's going to be a huge test for them. They got Charleston right out of the chute. Charleston beat Effingham the other night also. And then potentially, I think Brooks is.
Yes. Yeah, so if they beat Charleston, it'd be either Brooks or Dixon.
Yeah, Brooks or Dixon in the next round game. And again, Dixon up north, Brooks is struggling this year record-wise, but you look who they play. They played Kenwood. They played Curry. They play different teams. Yeah. They get beat by some really, really good teams. So
yeah, I think Charleston's a good draw for T-Town because, that's a team that you look at the records and you say, well, T-Town, they play well, they ought to get a win, but Charleston is not. It's going to be a good workout. Regardless, right?
The thing I think that's going to be in the shoes favor in that game is Charleston is very reliant on the 3. And I think T-Town's got enough quickness and does some things defensively. I think they're going to make it tough for them to get quality 3s throughout the game.
Charleston, by the way, they had an overtime game with St. Anthony this week and played them on Saturday, and St. Anthony beat them by 10 points, 61-51 in overtime. So we'll get to that in a second because St. Anthony had some games this week as well. But yeah, T-Town boys, we always talk a lot about them anyway, but there's going to be a lot of good things, I think, to keep talking about as the year.
They can have a pretty good tournament. They got Mount Vernon Wednesday night.
Yes.
And I don't know if that was an original Thursday game that was moved to Wednesday or if it was always on Wednesday. That'd be a good test for them. Mount Vernon's a good ball club.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very solid, and I think a good team for them to play going into the tournament week.
Right. Let's just go to T-Town. You touched on T-Town, or I'm sorry, St. Anthony. You touched on St. Anthony.
Yeah, St. Anthony. St. Anthony had a couple of games this week. They, like I mentioned, they beat Charleston on Saturday by 10 points in overtime. And also they played Diedrich Friday night. I was at that game. They beat Diedrich 61-32. You know, NTC game. Both teams were 2-1 in league play coming into it. And I guess I might have expected that one to be a little tighter than it ended up being. You know, that was the thing that surprised me the most about it. And it's a kind of a cliche thing to say about these sort of games, but it's really true. I didn't expect a 29-point margin. St. Anthony played well. Diedrich didn't play great. And between those two things, it got out of hand. I will say that there were stretches in that game where neither team could score. I mean, it was not the most fun game to watch. I'll say that. I've broadcast and covered a lot of games in my life, and this isn't one that I'm going to remember for very long.
Didn't Colin Westendorf put up some points for St. Anthony that night?
I'll tell you who had a good game. Ryan Schmidt had a double-double.
Oh, really?
19 points and 10 rebounds. And that was interesting because Ryan came off the bench, but he wasn't supposed to come off the bench. I guess there was some sort of a snafu between the lineup that was written down, you know, to get put in the book and then what was actually put in the book. So Schmidt didn't start, but he was, I guess, going to. That's the story. And he did start the second half and came into the game almost immediately in the first quarter. And that's one thing. You know, I saw St. Anthony play North Clay a few weeks ago in their NTC opener, and Schmidt came off the bench in that game and was he was doing a lot of good rebounding work. You know, he'd score a little bit, but does really good work on the boards, and he's a nice player for them. And
yeah, he's long and he can shoot it.
Yeah. And that's what St. Anthony, I think, is starting to find is that, you know, and what I have kind of harped on with them all season long is that somebody besides Brock Fearday's got to score some points. And, you know, Schmidt seems willing to do that, right?
Ryan is willing to shoot the ball. Yes, he is.
Yeah. And that's, you gotta have it, right? Like you gotta have those kids. So that was a nice game for him in a game that was, to me, otherwise kind of unremarkable, just in terms of the game itself. That was one thing that stood out to me was that Ryan Schmidt had a nice game. And of course, you know, Fearday got his points because that's what he does. He scored 15 or no, I don't have it in here yet. I forget how many he scored, but it was in that 15 to 20 range because that's what he does, right?
And then did they beat Charleston at Charleston or at St. Anthony?
That was a home game for them.
Okay.
That was a home game. I'm looking right now just to make sure I get this right. Yeah, Brock had 15 points and they got 8 from Westendorf. They got 8 from Koenig, but also, you know, Cody was able to get some different guys in the game to run some different mixes in the second half because, again, they had it under control at a certain point.
Oh, and then, like I said, beating Charleston overtime, that's a good win for them there as well.
Yeah, sure.
Bigger school, Apollo School, nice win there.
St. Anthony's up to 7-4, you know, on the season. So they kind of got their, I would say that they probably characterized their Thanksgiving tournament week as kind of a so-so week for them. And really, you know, then they lose that game to North Clay, which is the first conference game you've lost in ages.
Right.
And then they've gotten off on a nice run since then. So we'll see.
They'll have, do they play this week at all, Dustin?
I'm looking. Let's see here. They've got, yeah, they do, because I'll be there Tuesday night. They go to Olney, and that's going to be
a good ball game for them.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what St. Anthony lost to Newton Tuesday night too. I'm sorry, I missed that one, but they went to Newton Tuesday night and lost by 9. And listen, Newton's good, right? Like, I'm going to be interested to see how Newton fares in
I actually talked to Troy Bierman this week. Newton's pretty good. I think they've had a couple games. I know North Clay beat him. That may be their only loss.
North Clay beat them, but then they
turned around and beat North Clay.
North Clay. North Clay, by the way, they have just by kind of happenstance have run into a lot of teams twice already this year. Like they played Sisney at the Wayne City tournament this week, and then they're going to turn around and play Sisney. That was just a normally scheduled game this week. They had Newton twice already. They've had Casey twice already because of
that's
tournament draws.
twice. Yeah.
Yep.
And they won the Conrad Allen tournament, beat Wayne City by 2 in the championship game.
Yeah, NTC,
And Windsor won the
St. Elmo tournament, which they didn't just win it. They beat Hillsborough by 12. And that's Hillsborough's, by all accounts, a solid team. So, good week for the National Trail.
There's 2 big trophies you brought in. I think in our tournament, St. Anthony's got Lutheran North. Lutheran North got some kids that can shoot it. I don't know if they stay focused the whole ball game. I watched probably 3 of their games on tape. They get into sometimes they try to get away from what they're doing offensively and defensively. So, and I talked briefly with Cody about them a little bit and helped him get some tape to watch on them, but be a good game for them. Newton's got
Champaign Centennial,
they play well, then they don't play well. Champaign Centennial came down and St. Anthony knocked them off first game last year. So that'll be a good ball game. And, like I said, it's going to be an interesting week in the tournament. Now, the Hearts had T-Town Tuesday.
And then they played Charleston. Friday night, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
got beat
by 15.
And didn't play. I've talked to 2 people who were there. Hearts didn't play well at all, either side of the ball.
And then they got beat by Lincoln Saturday. Got beat by Lincoln yesterday, 59-46. So a couple straight conference losses.
Was that at Lincoln yesterday?
Yeah.
Which, even though Lincoln's not the Lincoln of old, that's a tough place to play.
Yeah. So Lincoln's still undefeated in the Apollo. Mount Zion, they beat Mattoon by 30 points on Saturday. So Mount Zion's still undefeated in the Apollo. Lincoln's 8-1 overall. Mount Zion's 10-1. And then after that, the league is just kind of a slog. It really is. Effingham is sitting there at 3-2. So is Mahomet, but Effingham beat them.
That's got a win on Mahomet, sure.
Yeah, Charleston's 2-3 in conference play. Mattoon, they're 1-4. They beat Taylorville, who seems like they're going to do very well to win more than a game or 2 this season, just based on.
And that kind of surprised me. Taylorville's got some kids that can shoot it. They weren't on the. I didn't feel like they were kind of on the same page when they played Effingham.
Yeah, Mattoon
just kind of had some kids doing their own thing.
Mattoon, they've got that win, and then they beat Shelbyville this week too. So, is that this week? Yeah, they beat Shelbyville by.
Yeah, they just beat them. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so they beat Shelbyville Tuesday to get a win, and they beat Taylorville by 6 points on Thursday. Still struggling, of course, but at least they're going to get a few, and so that's nice for them. But Effingham, that's a tough week. It's a tough week of the teams you have to play. First of all,
who's Effingham got this week? I don't think they played, do they?
They don't play. So they got to go into the tournament next week with that kind of the feeling of 4 straight losses in the back of their throat a little bit, because they had lost to Mount Vernon last Saturday. So over the span of basically a week,
that's 4 games.
Yeah, four losses, and none of them particularly close, really. So.
Well, but it was, probably other than the Charleston game, 3 really good teams. And Charleston, they just, like I said, I was kind of under the impression, what I was told, they didn't really have much desire in guarding anybody. Charleston kind of played horse, shooting threes. I saw they made like 10 threes, and then Garrett Wolf made like 5, and it sounded like Charleston didn't have much. Just played the game of horse, and who shot better is what it turned out.
But occasionally that works out for you, right?
I've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
It's no fun unless your kids are red hot. Then you're like, okay, we'll keep playing.
Well, let's stick with the Apollo. Unfortunately it was an up and down week for Effingham's girls too, because it was a big week for Jeff Schaefer.
He's tied now with Coach Maxton. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, we'll get to the bad part of the week in a minute, because Friday night was not fun for the Hearts, the Lady Hearts. But they had Charleston Tuesday, and Charleston is still, just in a bad spot right now.
Program just has collapsed.
Yeah, it's a numbers thing too. I don't know what
Yes.
it is. I don't know what their situation is this year, but last year they only had 7 or 8 kids dressed for their varsity game. So, it's
I hear whispers, but I don't want to say because I don't know if they're true. But I've had people tell me what's happened to their program. So
yeah,
I think it's a secret.
I've heard some things too. It's
Don't
just
think it's a secret.
Charleston's just too big of a school to not have numbers in its sports programs. You know what I'm saying? Like there's that means that there's something else going on behind the scenes when you can't, yeah. And and that's got to get addressed, and people who are in charge of that situation have to figure out how to deal with it, because yeah, a school district the size of Charleston just should not have trouble fielding teams. And you don't have to be good every year, but competitive.
Right.
It's not been that long since Charleston was as good a girls basketball team as the Apollo Conference had,
Yep.
Anyway, Effingham beat them by, almost 60 points, and then played St. Anthony Thursday night. And I'll be honest with you, I thought St. Anthony might win that game. In fact, I thought St. Anthony would win that game. But and I hadn't seen Effingham, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. But I just really think very highly of St. Anthony's team this year. And not that it surprised me that Effingham beat them, but it did surprise me that Effingham beat them by 22 points. That's the thing.
Well, I was listening to it, and I heard some of the first half and close ball game, and then pretty soon it got to 8 points, and then it got to 12, but then it never went back under 10.
Yeah.
It's like once Effingham got them in double digits, and then it sounded like Effingham hit some threes.
And that was the thing. Effingham shot well, was my understanding. And the other thing that we got to talk about a little bit, and I don't know what she did against Lincoln on Friday night, but I caught the end of the game on the radio and listened to Jeff's interview, because of course that was the game where he tied Maxiden for the career wins record, all-time winningest coach. And as soon as he wins another one, which he will this year, of course, he will be the all-time winningest coach at Effingham High School. But the young lady by the name of Alyssa Martin scored 15 points in that St. Anthony game.
Freshman.
Yeah, and the way Jeff explained it was that she is a very consistent scorer in the JV, and they didn't have Marissa Ali. She wasn't available for them that night, and so they just decided to see what they just decided to give her extended minutes, and she
Produced.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what that means going forward, but it's a fun thing to see, because, you look last year at, we've already talked about Brock Fearday for the St. Anthony boys. It was about this time of year last year that he wasn't really playing that much. And then, like, out of necessity, because Craig Croy,
And I'm staying in this lineup. And then you're right. He all of a sudden started playing well and just stayed.
So you could, I don't know what's going to happen with Effingham, but it's a fun thing to think about, that somebody who you wasn't really even on your radar as far as a varsity contributor just drops 15, and you're like, well, who is it? What's the story here? And it's just a cool thing that happens in high school sports sometimes. So,
and just on a personal note, good luck to Chief getting that next win. I tried to recruit Jeff to come over and coach at St. Anthony back in the day, long time ago, about 15, 16 years ago, or more than that, actually, probably. And he does a good job. And, like I said, he's about to put his mark on the whole school here.
I think the best part about his interview with Greg on the radio after that game, though, was when Greg got him talking about his dad, and how much of a close relationship they clearly have, and how much it means to his dad to be at those games and see his son coach, and what they share there. That's something I can, obviously not in regards to basketball coaching, but other things,
Right.
something we can relate to and something you can relate to.
Yep, very much so.
Yep. So,
And and Jeff played for Coach Max. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
so he helped him get some of those wins.
He did. And in a similar time frame, by the way, because Maxidon's career spanned 24 years, and this is Jeff's 25th at Effingham. So, of course, now when Jeff first started, I don't know how many games they played in the season when Jeff first started coaching at Effingham, but the girls, it seems to me like at a certain point, girls' schedules might have been a little lighter than boys' schedules, but then again, they might have played fewer games overall back in boys' games back in the day too. I don't know what all goes into that, but it doesn't matter. Two guys that have left a mark on on their programs and the school, and I'm guessing are going to, they're not going to be forgotten, and it's good. Things are going to be done to make sure that they're not, right, like that their names are going to be attached to basketball at Effingham long after they're not around anymore.
Right.
But then Effingham had to play Lincoln on Friday night, and that wasn't near as enjoyable because by my Dave Waltman was he was texting me scores Friday so I could get them on the air in our broadcast over at St. Anthony. And he said the Lincoln just couldn't miss a shot. The Froby's girls scored about 30 points, and they beat Effingham by, almost 40. It was 83-46.
Froby girl's the real deal.
Yeah, no, she's obviously legit. I don't know if she knows where she's playing next year yet or not, but
She's a senior this year or a junior?
oh, is that right? Maybe she's only junior. She might only be junior.
I'm not 100% sure she's a senior.
She's this is the last time we'll have to talk about her as an Apollo Conference player.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So there is that. But yeah, that so Lincoln's undefeated. They're 13-0. They haven't lost a conference game yet. Effingham's lost a couple. Taylorville and there's 4 teams in the Apollo girls that have all lost 2 games now. Taylorville, Effingham, Mount Zion, Mahomet. So it's kind of Mattoon and Charleston. It's not going to be a good year for either one of those teams, but in the middle, it's kind of the same thing. In the middle, there's a lot of different ways that could go down. Effingham's already beaten Taylorville, but Taylorville's 4-2 in league play and 10-3 overall. So that's looking more and more like a good win. And the Hearts, they're 9-3, so they're having another solid year. I don't know. Anything else to say about that, or should we shift?
No.
We've got other girls, NTC girls.
More girls games than I did.
Yeah.
I haven't got to do any girls games on the radio yet this year. So.
The T-Town girls now, they beat we can shift to that because they beat St. Anthony Monday night. We were both at that game.
We sat by each other, and you learned a lot about basketball just listening to me.
I learned how much that anybody who gets within 10 feet of Mike Wilson at a basketball game gets sucked into a conversation, and
before you come sit down.
And sometimes they do watch the ball game.
I guess I sat down next to you, so I guess.
I was going to say we were there first. Anyway, St. Anthony and T-Town, T-Town beat them 46-37, and I think it's probably safe to say that neither team played very well in that game.
No, they did not.
Just a buttload of turnovers. I think more than 20.
T-Town uncharacteristically really struggled, especially in the third quarter with St. Anthony's pressure. They really struggled with it. And both teams were confused on what color jersey they were wearing because there were passes you were like, wait a minute. You're in white. That person's in blue. Yeah, and neither team shot well. It was a struggle. It really was. And I know, as far as T-Town was concerned, hey, ugly win's still a win. Sometimes people think, oh, this is a really hype game. And it just gets caught up in not being able to be the game you expected.
Yeah, you're right about that. From St. Anthony's perspective, it looked early like it might get ugly for St. Anthony, like that they might not play within 9 points.
Yes, I agree. In that second quarter, I thought it was really going to get ugly. And then
Um,
they just hung around.
and listen here, like I have told anyone who asks me about St. Anthony how much I like Nancy Ruhal, the freshman who has stepped in and scored a lot of points for them. But I did kind of wonder how she would react to facing a team that defends the way T-Town does. And I'm going to say this, she had problems early to the point where she got pulled out of the game for a while.
Yeah.
Now she figured it out and still ended up scoring her
She
points.
played well in the third quarter.
She did. She did. She was in trouble. She was in over her head in the first 4 minutes of the game, probably the first half, really. But then she learned how to swim a little bit in the second half, I think. Is that
I walked in the gym
got a
at
pretty
the
way
end of the
putting it?
first quarter. I thought, wait a minute. I heard the horn in the lobby, and I thought, oh, perfect, right? Tip. No, first quarter was in. Oh,
Yeah, the JV game did not last very long.
yeah. So, yeah, and so, watching her play, she's going to have to do more for me than be able to beat people off the dribble down the right side of the floor and get to the basket.
Yeah, and she will, she was leaving her shots short, a little bit. Just getting it taken away from her. Again, I don't care how good you are. I don't care what you did in junior high until you face a team that plays the way T-Town does. You haven't played that game yet. You just haven't, right?
No, you're right. And it's a different mindset defensively. They're not afraid to play physical basketball. And sometimes people criticize them, but I can never remember a T-Town girl ever getting teed up in a game for doing something you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
they play hard defense, they play physical defense, and there's bodies on the floor, and you run into each other.
And that's one thing. I've been going to more games, not just in working capacity, but I'll sit in the stands, and that's one thing people who go to games don't understand a lot of times is they don't know the difference between physical play and dirty play.
Exactly right.
And they get themselves worked up in a frenzy about it sometimes, and they just make it very clear that they don't go to a lot of games, and the ones they go to, they are only interested in seeing one team win, and they just can't see the forest for the trees, right? Like
they get caught up if an official makes a call that's questionable and goes against them. Oh my God, it's the worst person in the world. But as soon as that questionable call goes in their favor, they don't complain about it. So I always like that. But and people get caught up in that again because T-Town's girls do play physical. T-Town's girls set screens. No. Your teammates should say, hey, Sally, screen right, don't run into a tree. And when they do, they think, oh my God, that was dirty because she couldn't see her. No, that's your teammate not speaking up. And back in the day, we used to call those the John Nettie screens, and I loved when a kid would get to be kind of a pain in the butt on the floor. I'd tell Coach Fehrenbacher, I'd say, hey, Sparky out there needs a John Nettie screen, and we might a little quick screen and no one's looking, and you burst to speed, and then they turn and run right smack into John Nettie and crumple down like a aluminum foil off a baked potato.
And T-Town, they won their other two games this week. They beat Newton by 30 points. Newton only scored 17 points in that game. They also lost their leading scorer and their only senior. She broke her leg during that game. And so young lady by the name of Hetzer, I want to make sure I get it right. Alexis, I think it is. Yeah, Alexis Hetzer. So that's a rough deal for, I always
hear that.
Yeah. But, T-Town is probably going to win that game one way or the other. And then they beat Olney yesterday by 10, 55-45. I don't know much about Olney this year, but, you take that win anytime.
I don't know if the Lady Shoes play this week or not. If they're off till Christmas, they're back in Charleston again.
Yeah, back in the Charleston tournament. We're kind of running long, but NTC girls, we already touched on St. Anthony losing that game against T-Town, and we already touched on them losing the game to Effingham. That's a real gauntlet week for them, you know.
But
and then
no conference losses in that.
no conference losses. And they turn around Saturday. They played Arthur Lovington at Atwood Hammond, and my understanding is that while that team was exceptionally good last year, they're still pretty solid this year. And St. Anthony beat their pants off 66-39. So that's a good get back on track type of win for them.
Yeah.
They've got. I'm looking this week. They don't have anything this week.
They go to the Mattoon tournament.
Yeah, they go to the Mattoon tournament, and Altamont's in that one too. So there's always the chance that they could run into each other. Yeah, they're not in the same pool, so it would have to be down the road. But speaking of Altamont, you know, they got beat by CHBC this week. They got beat by Cowden. So Altamont's already got 2 losses in the girls conference, and quite honestly, you get 2 losses and you might be starting to get into where you're not gonna be able to pull out number 1 seed.
I don't think you are, because I think it's a 3-horse race with CHBC, Neoga, and St. Anthony. I think and St. Anthony's got to win over CHBC. Neoga hasn't really played any of those schools yet, have they?
No, they haven't. They were supposed to play Altamont this week on Thursday night.
They're not going to play.
Probably not going to happen, which is interesting because
Take it to the bank.
They got weathered out trying to play Altamont in the regional final last year too, and had to push that one back by a day. But Neoga, they beat. I went and watched them play Newton yesterday, and they beat Newton by 9 points, and I think, and their coaches will be the first to tell you, like, they really, you know, they need to figure some things out, you know.
Maybe like Jason Rhodes said, they're reading too much press clippings.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the kids that well, so I'm not going to say that that's what's going on. But
sometimes people, when you're a good team and expectations are high, and you go to state, you got a lot of key players back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get caught going through the motions.
But there's the other thing is that it might not just be an overconfidence thing, but maybe a pressure thing too. Like you feel like you feel like you have to do it again, right? Like,
hey, last year we were Cinderella. Wait a minute, now we're the prince. We're not, you know.
Yeah. So
we're not sneaking up on anybody now. Now they're preparing a little harder for us.
That could be a part of it too. I'm not sure. They were supposed to play Brownstown Thursday night this last week. That get pushed back. They're actually playing it tomorrow night now because the Brownstown 8th grade girls went state, and so the coaching staff is the same
staff.
Yeah. So, you know, they had to move a couple of games around because of their junior high teams being so good. So Neoga's going to get tested tomorrow night. That game will get played. Brownstown is 10-1. You know, Brownstown's kind of in the same boat as Neoga, where you could look at the teams they played and say, well, you know, that's not exactly like blowing my mind here, but the fact of the matter is they played 11 times and they've only lost 1. So, you know, they're going to be a handful. That'll be an interesting game that I'm going to go watch just to see. I want to know how Neoga responds, and I want to get a look at Brownstown. But other than that, as far as the conference slate goes, that Neoga Altamont game was the only other one that was, you know, the only other conference game that's going on this week. So
it ain't going on.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Other than that, it's kind of a CHBC plays Flora. They play Tri-County. They play Newton this week. They've got a busy week. But Tri-County is probably the most interesting matchup of those 3. So anyway, I think we've gone through them all now, and probably good because we're running long, but you know, there's a lot to talk about this time of year.
Unfortunately, I watched a little college basketball down in Nashville when I was down there with my son. I said, we got to get someplace for an early lunch to watch the Indiana-Kansas game, and then I almost lost my lunch watching the start of it. Then they made a nice run. We were back at his apartment and watching it, and then I fell asleep, and they told me they lost by 20, and I wasn't very happy. So Indiana, at some point, it's got to beat a good team.
Yeah, I want you to do yourself a favor. You know, we don't have to get into it, but your boy Dan Dockich had Coach Woodson's daughter coming after him on Twitter today. So,
oh really?
Yeah,
he's not my boy. Remember, he's not my boy.
Okay, he's more your boy than mine. That's all I'm.
But yeah, I'll give you that. You're right. And as I told the coaches, I did get a chance, speaking of Indiana, I got a chance to chat with Uwe a little bit. We talked a little bit about George Montgomery, and we were kind of catching up on things, how he's doing. So I'm doing well. Good to talk to him.
Yep.
Or good to text him, I should say. But I know it's a shocker. We're not going to do a show next Sunday.
No.
We're going to take Christmas off. Have a good one, Whitey. Enjoy time with your family. We are right now, we're on pins and needles trying to figure out how to get Zach Wilson home for Christmas, because he's supposed to work till Thursday, and he's thinking about, originally we were going to have him try to come Friday, and now it sounds like Friday may be worse than Thursday, and it may not get bad till after overnight hours Thursday. I guess the wind isn't supposed to come in possibly not till after midnight, because they're talking 40 mile an hour, 30, 40 mile an hour
Yeah, I
winds
saw that.
for 2 days, not for gusts. They're talking for 2 days.
Well,
And the snow totals are all over the map. So we're gonna, and I guess Thursday, whenever the cold front gets here, the temperature will drop like 30 degrees in an hour and a half.
I'm not
Don't,
looking.
don't wear a Braves t-shirt to work Thursday, Whitey. I'm just giving you a heads up.
I don't. I don't even know what days I get off yet, but I'm probably not going to work Thursday one way or the other. So
There you go. Tell them you go off on the phone, call your boss, tell them you think you got COVID.
no, they're pretty. I'm not
You
going
can work from home.
I can work from home. So
There
if
you
it came to that, I would just do it. But universities tend to shut down a little bit coming close to Christmas. There's no students left on campus. All the faculty are out of there. I don't think anyone's going to notice if I just take one of my many vacation days.
It's just the minions running the place.
Well, we're the ones who make the world go round there. Okay.
Hey, and that's my alma mater, Whitey. So keep doing it, would you?
That's right.
I have 2 degrees from EIEIO.
I've only got the one, but that's probably it because I don't have it in me to take any more classes. All right, Mike, you have a good Christmas too. I hope you guys get all figured out. Just charter a flight for God's sake. Just fly him in.
No, he's bringing Ernie his dog, so Ernie won't fly.
Okay, well,
And we have another cat here now because another college cat showed up for a few days. So
it'll all work out. You guys.
we bought a zoo, Whitey. We have a zoo now.
Yeah.
We will have a zoo.
Well, we always do. Listen, two
I know.
dogs, a cat, a bunch of turtles. Listen, we got animals out the wazoo.
We got no turtles, so
No turtles. Well,
keep the turtles.
all right. Well, you guys have a great Christmas. Next time we talk, we'll probably be talking about how that Christmas tournament went. I'm looking forward to spending some time there and seeing some good ball.
Hey, we may be working together. Rumor has it.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we didn't even talk about because what you're talking about is how much Matt Robinson will be there because Altamont plays at the Cesar for their tournament.
Not Cesar.
And we didn't mention Altamont going and playing in that Greenville shootout. They had to play Breeze Central on Saturday, and
I never saw that score.
it was a little one-sided. Central got them by 21, 63-42. That's pretty tough competition for Altamont. But
And Breeze Central is better now than they were at the Thanksgiving tournament.
that's the thing. We've gotten a chance to see them, so we know how good they were.
Yeah.
So Altamont beat Carlisle and OPH earlier this week, but that was a tough one for them. Forgot to.
See, I didn't have O and P. I just had H back in the day.
All right, we better stop.
All right, see you, bud.
All right, take it easy, Mike.